Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. So, I've had some requests to do more mantras, and we haven't done one on Ganesha.
We really need to do one on Ganesha. Ganesha's like my favorite.
Well, Ganesha is the favorite of many. He is one of the most popular deities out there in the Hindu world and in the non-Hindu world too. In just out there in the sectarian world, you'll find a lot of Ganesha statues.
Well, remover of all obstacles. Who couldn't use that?
Exactly. So the mantra Om Ganapatiye Namaha or Nama. Nama and Namaha are interchangeable basically. And it's just a sign of salutations. It's like, if you were going to go greet a king or a queen somewhere, you might do a little curtsy if you were of that. You might bow. It's just a salutation.
Nama or Namaha?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. And so this mantra was first mentioned in Ganapati Artharvar Shisha. And Ganapati Artharvar Shisha is said to have been written by Arthava Rishi. And Rishis are best thought of as basically kind of like ascended masters. The Rishis are the ones that have given us the Vedas and the Puranas and the Upanishads and many other different books that are inspired materials. So after he had a darshan of Ganapati. And so Ganesha and Ganapati, those are actually, they're basically titles when we get into it. So we have a little article over here off of Well Good. And why Om Gam Ganapatiye Namaha is a mantra worth repeating. And, as this article says, it can be a go-to mantra. And everything in this world, it reflects as above, so below, as within, so without. And so when we look deeper into it, we see that this mantra is relating to replenishing our root chakra. And Ganesha is said to govern the root chakra. And again, the remover of obstacles, if your root is blocked, everything's going to not really function right.
It's going to plug everything up, or energy is going to go out and in directions it's not supposed to, which can actually affect how you think.
So typically when we start a mantra, usually we'll do some ohms, and in the circles that I've been in, usually we'll do 3 ohms before we begin a mantra. And Om is basically the sound of the universe. It's a primordial sound. And then when we're done doing them, we would usually say Om and then Shanti, 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 Shanti 3 times, which is peace. And so when we break down what we are talking about here, Gam is the sound of Ganesha. Ganapataye is another word for Ganesha. And Namaha or Nama, I offer my salutations, or as if you're bowing to him. And so it doesn't mean you're selling your soul to Ganesha or anything like that. It's just a sign of respect. It's just basically, like we said, curtsying or bowing, whatever you would do in the local custom that in the place that you're at.
I mean, what it does to me, it allows him to come in and help.
Yeah, because beings on the higher levels, they have to be invited, Now, we know there's malevolent beings out there that come uninvited all the time and attach to people and do all sorts of, nasty things. But the benevolent beings, you have to actually ask them, because they are not going to typically interfere in your life. Now, they can try to get you to wake up, as has happened to both me and Cindy. With me, it was like they just kept showing up. And so I've worked on some very, very psychic and gifted people, and I kept getting the message, by the way, after a session was done, I'm working on a client, by the way, there's a woman here. She looks like Indian from India. And she keeps trying to get your attention, and you keep pushing her blessings away. And I got that message from like 3 or 4 clients consistently. And, I realized who it was. And, since then, have more cognizantly been working with her energies.
You do. They will show up. Like with Ganesha, you might actually keep running into obstacles.
Yeah. And so, you're basically saying salutations to the remover of obstacles is what you're saying. But also, gum also is a sound that activates the root chakra. So every time you're going, gum, and you vibrate it, when you do a mantra, always try to vibrate it. There's power in vibration. Everything is about frequency. Tesla said that. What's the secrets of the universe? Well, you're talking about energy, frequency, vibration. That's the mysteries that we have to comprehend.
Super important. Our energy body is really important. And when we have traumas, they can stand inside your energy body and prevent the flow of energy. And this is a way to stabilize things, bring in the good vibrations, and help get things moving.
So the root chakra is extremely important. Center of stability, and it's located at the base of the spine. It's basically located right at the perineum, pelvic floor. And so it's all about earthing, rooting, grounding, being stable. So in this, and maybe this is why we're seeing so many people with closed root chakras, think about what's going on in the world. Our basic security, our basic feeling of, I'm going to be able to provide for myself, my family, is being, really attacked. And thus, many people are having their root chakras blocked. And so we've been recommending for people to do this mantra.
Yeah, it will help. There's been times I was actually stuck at an airport with very little to no chance on getting on a standby. And boy, I used this mantra and it worked and I cried.
Yeah, and she was panicked, and we were separated, and I just told her, hang on, and it's going to work out. Just do this mantra. We did it together. And, by some miracle, she got on the plane, and there was tons of people that were trying to get on the plane.
It was a total miracle. I should not have gotten on there, but for some reason at the last minute, another lady got off, decided to take a different flight, and I got on.
Yep. And so she was able to return to me, which was wonderful. And so, we do, this is the first one we do every day, and in our routine. And as soon as I start doing it, I feel a warmth in the base of my spine, and I feel the Kundalini energy start to flow up the spine, going through and passing the sacral and going on up, on its way up to the third eye area. And then also the crown chakra opens wide and the cosmic energy flows down in. And, now, because of all of our training, that happens instantaneously. It's just boom, right away. And actually, don't even have to do it. I could just kind of think it, and then boom, it just happens. So this is all about stability, grounding, root. It's about physical health and well-being too. If your root chakra is blocked off, it's going to end up causing dis-ease eventually. And people with certain dis-eases, typically will have a blocked off root chakra. Anything autoimmune, anything where the immune system's suppressed, you'll find the root chakra is really inhibited in its flow. And so certain sounds are related to certain chakras, and Gam is related to the root chakra. So, this could help us get over our fears. This could help us to push through to all new heights. And it's a great one to start with. And in the Hindu tradition, Shiva, who is one of the, is thought of as one of the three most important gods, part of the Trinity, but it's actually a double Trinity because you have the female side of it. So you have Shiva, Brahma, and Vishnu, and then on the opposite side, on the female side, Parvati, Sarasvati, and Lakshmi. And so, those correspond to each other. And when you look at it in the Hindu pantheon and the way of doing things, for one, they recognize that these beings all have source in them, just like we have source in us. So that's reflective. It's recognized that they're not the ultimate source, because the ultimate source is unknowable and unnameable. It's beyond all that. And, it's given different terms. There's some forms of Shaivism that view Shiva as the ultimate source. But then they also view Shiva as a finite being as well, even though he's a Mahadeva, or a very high level god, in that sense of the word. It's still not source. But then there's some forms of Shaivism that will just use that name as being the unknowable source. And then we could look to his counterpart when you're using it in that way as Shakti, who manifests as all the goddesses. For, one of the secrets is that all goddesses are one goddess. All gods are one god. And all beings, everything is one, ultimately. There's a unity here. And so, God is in everything, and then yet there is a transcendence that's still above everything. The created manifest universe is thought of in a feminine term, Shakti, for instance. But you could view Shiva then in that sense as the void, out of which, that thought of manifestation is born. But it needs the divine feminine to actually bear fruit. And so thus, you need the two together. And then that again is reflected in the Tao, which we've talked about so many times. So Ganesha is a very interesting character, very, very interesting, because you have the head of a elephant, and you have kind of it reminds me of the Buddhas of prosperity. The Maitreya, which is the next Buddha that is coming, is viewed of often as a fat, jolly, laughing Buddha. And so with a big, big belly. And Ganesha has a big belly, typically, as well. You see Shiva's trident right here, right at his third eye area. So there's symbolism. Big head. Think big. Large ears. Listen more. Small mouth. Talk less. One tusk. Retain good. Throw away the bad. Modaka, which is the rewards of sadhana. And we see over here blessings and the Om symbol, protecting people on the spiritual path. The trunk symbolizes high efficiency and adaptability. Large stomach, peacefully digest all good and bad in life. Prasada, the whole world is at your feet and for your asking. And you always see the mouse around Shiva. Now, there's that old thing about elephants being so big and strong, but they're afraid of mice. So, this is interesting that we always see the mouse with Shiva, which symbolizes desire, unless under control, can cause havoc. You ride the desire. And so Ganesha rides the mouse. And keep it under control. Do not allow it to take you for a ride. And there's another one that has some more symbolism here as well. Basically the same thing. It gets into a few other things. So with the goad, he prods towards enlightenment. With his axe or sword, he cuts the bonds of attachment. And then his upraised hand symbolizes protection and sanctuary for his devotees. There's symbolism involved.
There is a lot, and the rat is an interesting story in astrology too, because on a certain nakshatra, the rat is a demon, and Ganesh actually gets control of that demon.
Yeah, and he's all about that. So there's different stories on how he got his head. One of them is that Parvati created him out of dust, very much like the biblical story, endowed him with life. And meanwhile, Shiva was out there doing his usual thing, meditating for a few million years and then coming back home. And when he comes home, Ganesha, being a protector, jumps up and blocks Shiva's way and refuses to let Shiva go. So Shiva just chops his head off. That's one of them. And that could be symbolic of a lot of different things, as well.
But then what? He chopped his head off, and then what?
And then when Parvati said, "No, what did you do?" And the wife was really mad. Yeah. You don't want the wife mad, and you want the goddess mad. So he ended up taking the head from the first thing that he saw, which was an elephant, and putting it on Ganesha's body. And also what he did, because he realized Ganesha was just protecting his mother, was he named him his name. Which we're going to get into. Let me see where I got that. I think over here. So the word Gana, the first part of his name is Gana. And the word Gana in Sanskrit means flock, troop, multitude, number, tribe, series, and class. Can be used to refer to a body of attendants, can refer to a company, or any assemblage or association of men formed for the attainment of same aims. In Hinduism, the Ganas are the attendants of Shiva, and they live in Kailasa. Ganesha was chosen as their leader by Shiva. Hence Ganesha's title, Gana Issa. Now that's really interesting because, if we've talked about it before, Issa, Saint Issa, in Hinduism is a being that many believe is actually Christ, because there's the legends of Issa, which were, discovered in the Western world. I think back in the somewhere in 1850s, 1860s. Nicholas Roerich, amongst there was another person too, that stumbled on this legend of a man that was from the West that came to India as a youth and studied there and became a great healer and cured many people and did all sorts of miracles and then headed back to the West. So many people with the timeline believe that could have been the one that we know as the Christ. And according to those legends, he went and studied under Babaji, who is an incarnation of Shiva at Kailash. So it's very, very interesting. So Ganesha means Lord of the Ganas, or Lord of Hosts. Whoa, that's biblical. We hear Lord of Hosts in the Bible all the time in the Old Testament. So interesting, is it not? It's very, very curious. And the word Gana can also refer to councils or assemblies convened to discuss matters of religion or other topics. It's so interesting seeing how all these things tie together. And, Ganesha is most definitely an interesting character. Then also, the elephant symbolizes wisdom, and Ganesha is thought to be also kind of a god of wisdom. And so I have seen in many circles, and I've kind of felt it too, that it's almost like another version of Thoth. Thoth, Hermes, Mercury, from which we get Hermeticism and the Hermetic arts and the Western mystery tradition. So it's so curious to see these things tied together.
It is really curious, and Ganesha being an elephant can plow through anything too. That's how I see him.
Yes, and Mount Kailash is the abode of Shiva on Earth, and interesting that we have a mount right by us that looks just like it, and also legends of entrances to inner Earth as well with the locals. So very interesting. So he's the son of Mahadevi Parvati, and the supreme Hindu god Lord Shiva. From a Shaivism point of view, Vaishnavism, then it would be Vishnu. And it's interesting to see the different, when you look at the gods, and many people will say they got 4 hands. Well, okay, that symbolizes a being on a higher level. So when they incarnate into human form, you're looking at Rama and Krishna, they have 2 arms and 2 legs. Then when you go higher up into even higher aspects, you might see them having multiple heads and even more arms, and that's denoting that they're an even higher level than which these Mahadevas live at.
Yeah, that's a really cool thing how they have it kind of separated out like that, so you understand, at looking at them, you understand what they're about.
So reciting the mantra helps us in improving the state of our mental levels, emotional levels, and most importantly, bonds us with a spiritual connection. And this is getting into the 7 chakras and how this is all about the root chakra as well. So I just wanted to share that. I got a ton of links. I'll put them all there. And by the way, this is a Gana. This is just one of the Ganas who actually looks to me a little bit like a mantid being, is what I'm seeing. And this is basically what a troop such as we are speaking of, Ganesha being the lord of the Ganas, this is a representation of that. As you see, a representation of Shiva up on top being carried by them. So very interesting stuff. I just wanted to share with you a little bit of that. And there's links here too. And like this one right here, you could play it and hear how it's pronounced. And so Om Gam Ganapatiye Namaha. And then there's one other little piece that comes in, Sharanam Ganesha. And so, it's all about removing blocks, obstacles, and the root chakra. So guys, as always, thank you for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. God bless and namaste.
God bless and namaste.